Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you or would you mind shooting this video of a very complex
No,
dialogues?
no,
It
no.
may have, it may contain items that are about your so-called personal life.
Okay.
You don't mind,
No, I don't mind.
but not so-called other things, which
I
is
understand.
purely personal.
Yes.
And do you object this being uploaded into my channel, Prasad Sundararajan, in YouTube?
No, doctor.
All right, wonderful, absolutely confident and courageous response.
Thank you.
Highly educated, experienced people, I mean women, not all, did not completely agree with that.
Okay.
Maybe various reasons, valid reasons,
Yeah.
but I would say as a creativity researcher, it is the absolute freedom of your mind that allows you to be so cool to agree with.
Yeah.
Are you pressurized by me in your agreement?
Yes.
Am I pressurizing you to agree?
No, not at
All
all.
right, okay. Yeah, the topic I wanted to discuss today with you, the prospective trainer of the most complex assignment,
Okay.
is about continuity.
Okay.
It is my theory. I have created a theory about the universe. One of the principles of the universe is continuity,
Yes.
which I call continuity principle.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't get a Nobel Prize for that, but a great particle physicist by Werner Heisenberg, especially, he researched and he found out the principle of sort of universe, but he didn't say that. But in case of particles and waves, he said particles will be particles on Thursdays and Fridays, waves on Tuesdays and Mondays, something like that. For example, for you to understand, based on that they created the uncertainty principle
Okay.
because of the particle behavior. It may become, sometimes the particles may appear on Friday, sometimes on Tuesday. So that's the way they talk, it is their language, I repeat, I quote. So they created an uncertainty principle, and Werner Heisenberg got his Nobel Prize in Physics at the age of 28. Not particularly for these things, for many other wonderful things, of course, he was a creative genius. But I have created, I would say, a deeper principle. I would say deeper, one step deeper than uncertainty principle. That I call the continuity principle.
Continuity principle.
That means, for example, in their own terms, that particle wave shift is a continuity. If that shift stops, the entire universe will be like you switch off the television, boom.
Yes.
In the tube TV, you can see the light going to the point.
Yes.
The entire universe will be.
Right.
So I dare to call my principle as fundamental of the universe, the real fundamental. Okay. So which I call the continuity principle, which I have written about it, of course, in my books, 2 books. Of course, my books are not read, maybe maximum 1,000 people all over the world. It's a great book. Everybody cannot climb easily the top of all kinds of mountains.
Right.
All right. So continuity principle. So everything is a continuity.
Yes.
You are able to exist because of the continuity of the blood circulation and the air circulation and the liquid circulation. Our consciousness is so-called consciousness, so clear, okay, so clear to us. It is actually maintained by the continuity of the firing of the millions of neurons in Wally system in the brain, actually.
Yes.
Like in film projection, ancient film projection, now it's all digital. Films will be rolling in the
Yes.
beautiful projectors of that time, and on the white screen and the empty screen there will be 36 frames per second.
Exactly. Yes.
So that first it was discovered as 5 phenomena in physics, and which was applied to, which was found its wonderful use in filmmaking and film projection. So in that particular speed of continuity, we feel a real action, very real. Okay. So continuity has the next variable called speed.
Okay.
So because there are millions of things all around and hundreds of things in our own perception, they are all continuous, but you don't feel separate speed of them. Each continuity has its own speed.
Yes.
Okay. the continuity of the speed of electrical waves in our domestic circuit, our electric current, it is 50 cycles per second. I don't know much about further principles of electricity. It can be made, I don't know, 120 cycles per second or whatever, or etc. Similarly, the voice, the sound we can hear is also called cycles per second, I suppose, because everything is a wave.
Yes.
I think we can hear between 120 and 80 and all that. 80 beyond your ears will break. Much lower, minute, or high speed cycles per second, like 20,000 and all, can be heard by the cats and the dogs, and so on. That means, what I said is, the sound waves also has its continuity as well as its speed factor.
Yes.
And the third factor depends upon is the mass. The continuity of this rocky mountains, it may be for another 2,000, 3,000 years. The rock, the diamond. In order to vary, solve by continuity, to have changes in a diamond, I think diamonds do not change at all. Something like that. So, continuity, the central principle, it depends upon speed, or it depends upon, speed is a factor, and mass or the largeness of a thing is a matter.
Okay.
A large fire may continue for a longer time than a small fire.
Yes.
Massive heat on a matter, on a vessel will sustain itself for a longer time than a tender heat.
Yes.
Right now I have put the rasayana on what you call patra pagam. That means now it is left to be cooked by the heat of the vessel itself.
Okay.
But there we will have some trial and error. Yesterday I put it like that, but today I realized that in that very heat alone, it did not complete. So I applied a little more heat now, and then left it for patra pagam. That means the speed of continuity of diminishing of heat is little convenient for us purpose. And I hope by now you realize that the next topic will be the continuity of the mindset of the lady.
Yes. Yeah.
It is very solid.
Yes.
It's a solid matter,
Yes.
created almost over maybe from the very infancy when the other person touched its body. And you only know, you are a yogi and you are in your journey to discover the you. By now you must be aware that every matter is nothing but energy.
Yes.
Actually it is in matter form, but it is potential energy only. So we, even quickly translated into our context, even everybody has, even anybody knows kind of a knowledge. People do not feel comfortable with some people. They have not even talked to each other.
That's true.
And they feel simply comfortable with somebody. And there are sensible people, I know many of them, and they come across a person, they say, I cannot interact with a person. And over 1 hour, the expressions and the ways of languages, etc. of that person is so ordinary, so tedious to cooperate.
Right.
So which this girl or this man felt in the very beginning. And now these are all examples, it is very well known, every human being is an energy field. So the kind of energy configuration which was absolutely poor in that man, evidenced by the fact of the quality of his expressions, responses, behaviors, ways of doing, relating with others, and language, the 5 components.
Yes.
There's a call coming, just
Sure.
a minute. Yes, we'll have a short break. The continuity of our beautiful discussion was broken by a telephone ring.
Telephone ring. Exactly.
But we have the competency to bring it back to where it was before.
Yes.
But an example for the break of continuity actually happened before you. An evidence, an example has happened
Okay.
by the telephone call. So, this unique female, whatever is under continuity in her is a massive load of very, 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 what you call, inappropriate, incapacitating, dysfunctional, blocking, mentally blocking, physically blocking, behaviorally blocking, relationship-wise blocking, activity-wise blocking training program
As a
offered
child,
by the most powerful energy field nearby, the very father figure.
yeah.
And it has a speed of its own,
Yes.
so that it got strengthened over a period of almost 17, 18 years.
Yes.
And everybody in the environment was also quite cooperating for the continuity of whatever the father has taught her,
Yes.
trained her.
Yes.
Even the so-called English teacher, I think appointed and worked for about 4 or 5 years,
Yes.
she was just training her to speak only. She could not write the way she wrote, and especially handwriting, a clear indication of the brain development, was not even the standard of a brilliant LKG child.
I agree.
Now with the training of mantra, it has come to somewhat like a standard 4th standard student, that's all,
Yes.
in a government school. So that is the kind of speed and continuity of experience. 24/7, so many years.
Yes.
Well practiced. I don't think anybody has that kind of, if somebody has that kind of a practice of a state of mind for that many years, such people are the so-called enlightened. I mean, those who claim to have been enlightened and appropriate, I mean, sort of, I don't know, staying in Uttarkasi and all such state-of-the-art unique places.
Yes.
So Bruce Lee, the genius of karate, he could break 8 bricks in a single shot. A legend. I don't think Bruce Lee will be repeated. I don't think so. In an interview, in a small book I read in one of my flights of a co-passenger, I saw that line. I was also reading it. It was a small book. And when that part was reached, I asked him, can I read that part once again? So that part I remember. Some other interviewer asked Bruce Lee, expressed his wonder, oh, how can you do this breaking of so many bricks? Then Bruce Lee said, I remember, I am not good in remembering things, I don't mug up things. But this is very small dialogue only. When I see those 8 bricks, I walk towards it solemnly. That word is very, very, very extremely unique word. No dictionary can talk about it. Even I may take about 10 minutes to explain what is named solemnness. But so it was highly used in philosophy and poetry, that word. I think the ministers also, I solemnly declare, something like that. Anyway, I don't know whether they ever thought about the meaning of what they do and what they talk. Coming back to the point, I walk solemnly towards the brick, close my eyes, and when I see my hand under the 8th brick, I strike. And the interviewer said, what you explained? Can we do that? I also walk solemnly towards the brick, close my eyes, and imagine my hand under the hand. Can I ever do that? Then Bruce Lee touched his shoulders and asked him a question. A question which reveals all the evidences that Bruce Lee was an almost enlightened genius in karate. I am sure Bruce Lee must have discovered that operating principle in his body. It is my statement as a researcher of world-class background. He asked him, it is in a printed book, I have seen that book, I don't know, because I could not read that book. I only could read this paragraph. He touched gently his shoulders and asked him a question. Do you think my hands did it? Impossible. Even if with an iron bar, it is actually not that
Not
easy.
possible.
That means that that actual solemn continuity of speed of evolution of that human body, it could surpass all its barriers and blocks. In fact, I told you he is a handicapped person. His precise right hand was handicapped. Something like that. He could see that this is just like pulling the trigger of a revolver only. The shot will be delivered by the gun.
And also his intent to achieve it.
Oh, a whole lot of variables. We incidentally referred to Bruce Lee by context. So if that kind of a continuity carried this unfortunate, I don't use that word, this, let's say, non-ordinary girl, how can we break that continuity? That is my question to myself. And most of my questions are to be your questions in the future.
Yes.
Because you are the only one who can do that miracle for her. Because it is such a mass of learning and knowing and doing and being.
Yes.
Knowing whatever that person said or not said and the way he said and the items of contents. It would not have contained more than 4 things or 2 words about any of those contents. He would have just impossible for him to point out the beauty of the stars to a little girl.
Yes.
Which almost every father unknowingly do it, yes. Because a father tends to love the girl. First of all. The second variable I said was the speed.
Yes.
Equally critical for her. The speed with which she has been trained by a mentally retarded person was extremely slow.
Yes. I agree.
And she has learned the doing of doing in that slow speed.
Yeah.
Even about understanding things around.
I agree, doctor.
That father did not train her comprehension and analytical observation, which is naturally happening with every little baby, even born to an illiterate lady in a remote village. Of course, they are much more wonderful in a different way. At least they genuinely interact with the child.
Yeah.
A child is everything for them. They have no money to buy food, they have no place to cultivate, they don't have a proper house to stay. So the child is their entire thing, which most of them are aware of, but not at the depth which I am talking about. In which case, the mother woman would have told a lot of fairy tales and old tales which they would know about this particular location and things like
Yes.
that.
All mother does that.
And do you know, 4 years back, a girl from this Ur was the first rank holder in this district. And I'm sure one of my dialogues must have rendered that. I don't interact with the people. So one day I was coming through with my jeep and I saw familiar people, and as a teacher I would ask, okay, what are you doing? She said, I'm in class 7 or 8. Which school? Okay, this is a government school. So the government schools are really well run in Tamil Nadu. Yeah, good. Oh, where is your house? A small, dilapidated house. Okay, from here you are going to school. Okay. When every other child would be coming from a different good location, you are going from here. And your father and mother are poor daily wage laborers. Their only dream is you. அவங்களுக்கு ஒரே ஒரு கனவு நீங்க மட்டும்தான். Yes, you are. That's all. I am sure that made the change in her. Otherwise, she might have got a reasonably good percentage. That such a thing has not happened with many, many other girls who passed out of this place. They are all unfortunately victims of justifying their defeat because of their poor background. So the parents only train them to understand. We are all poor people, we are all poor people, we don't have this, that, etc. etc. Therefore, all those children in the poor areas of this country are growing with that lack of self-image in them because of the modern times and campaigns carelessly managed by the religions and the governments and the companies. That is another continuity. Whatever we are talking about, they are all existing, they are all continuing.
Yes.
Some of them cannot even stop, even when they wanted to stop. Because the velocity is that much, the speed is that much. Or the slow speed of, like in the case of the girl.
Yeah.
In this so-called Bharat, for decades they have been talking about female participation in the government, female participation in the government, equality, this much of percentage, whatever, you know. It is not their problem, not their defect that they could not do it. Because they wanted to maintain administrative power. They must have realized that seldom a woman comes at that level and competency. If at all, whenever they were all political leaders and even ministers in the state and central governments. Even the very Prime Minister of India was, let me say, a girl. Yeah. Indira Gandhi was a girl, so smart and dynamic. Of course, she was trained by her father, none other than, I would not say Pandit and all that, Jawaharlal Nehru, a relatively good thinker. Sitting in the dark rooms or the constrained rooms of the jail, he has been writing a letter to his daughter every week, one full article in his beautiful language and logic, analyzing the history of India and the freedom fight. That book is available in print. I think the letter is sent to your daughter by whatever, the father. She has been rigorously trained by that I would say the cunning brilliance of Jawaharlal Nehru.
Father.
He was sure that he was preparing the future Prime Minister of India. I am above all those things. I am not telling you about party, whatever it is. I am just telling you about the event.
Yeah.
And here is another girl, by potentially to be a Prime Minister of the country. By potentially. If one girl can, why not another girl? But there are limitations because there's only one seat of a Prime Minister, one position. But has been trained just by a person who was really in the jail of existence. in jail of his own mind and body and spirit and intelligence. And he trained a daughter directly, much more powerful than sending once in a while letter, to be what she is today. And such a ridiculously slow acceleration or speed or velocity.
Yeah.
With such a mass of, I don't know, unresponsiveness, like the father, unrelating, like the father, uncommunicated openly, like the father, irritated secretly by the father. Do you think he was not irritated inside? He was. You think he was absolutely ignorant about that? He was carrying a terribly loaded avalanche of depressions.
Yes. He had.
With that, he nevertheless tried to do whatever he can best to do for her. He has done that. Whatever he could do.
Yes.
That also was not at all anywhere near the requirement. It all added a lot of mass of blocked understanding about self and others and things and requirements. So that is being continued. That's why I have been telling you, or implying or trying with the mantra, how to break the continuity of that. Then only we have to either to first break the continuity of that. But we are training the continuity of something else, of the required level of a person's expressions, responses, etc., and knowing, doing, and being.
Yeah.
That is parallelly being created. But the force of continuity is such that the extent that can be created is very less, much less. Yeah, that's all. Because the continuous wind energy, like wind is continuous, the climate is bad. For the plant, for the new tender plant we are putting in. No, these are all analysis only after all.
Yes.
But it gives us some, perhaps it would be giving some clarity to the whole, because we become ourselves greater. In this process, you are becoming greater by listening to and understanding what I am telling. What only I can tell now in this whole world, I presume. That's a statement I would tend to make once in a while. Though I don't care about the implications of that statement. But I say that to have its own impressive power inside you, so that you can understand the degree of lucky moments in your life happening here.
Yes, Doctor. I agree.
So why you should be that? That's for her only. Otherwise, there is no contest of our.
True.
I also thought about a possibility that is it your destiny that she is becoming an instrument to fulfill by bringing you here. Perhaps you may not achieve, let us say, full success in training your person. But you will be doing this to several others, no doubt. Now, by the way, are you writing notes about what you understood?
Yes.
Better do that also. Yeah, there's always the critical turning point possible. So let us have a break, a long
Sure.
break. Now, today's momentary topic is over.
Okay.
The topic was to come, but we have a general directional topics. That's all.